Now,
Okay.
when we think about, and what I'm saying here is about bringing the spirit of play into our adult sexuality, and sometimes it's not even about sex, but in terms of play as combining that with our personal sensual and or sexual experience. And kink play, I'll be using interchangeably kink and BDSM, is about playing with sensation and power, and it's about designing games together to have fun. And you notice that the definition is rather broad in some ways because I'm saying childhood joyous play with adult privilege and cool toys. What do I mean by that? Childhood joyous play. As adults, we we're pretty lousy about remembering how to play. We get, put in little boxes, all the responsibilities. We get really uptight and we tend to start to color between the lines. And the imagination and creativity tends to fade away, especially around sexuality. So childhood joy in the way that we might play tag or play house or play fort or baseball. This is all about play. And humans, well, humans are primate. Primates are mammals. Mammals require environmental enrichment or spirit of play in order to remain vibrant. Play. So, in the way that we might play a game of basketball or a game of chess, but imagine that in a more intimate situation. And when I say adult privilege is about being able to have full agency of oneself, to be able to have the right to have agency to our body, to our decisions, our sexual decisions, boundaries, etc. Adult privilege may also include, well, having a little budget so I can buy my own toy instead of having an allowance. And cool toys, well, that's where people associate with kink, right? But the toys themselves isn't about BDSM. So the toys could include things like restraints or little paddles or little floggers. It could be like feathers. It could be a blindfold. And those are all toys, if you will, because they're tools by which to engage our imagination.
That's so cool. So it's really, I always love your analogy because it helped me understand eventually BDSM play is a type of play, right?
Mhm.
And it's to let something inside of us out, to try to play it in a sexual connected way and improve our intimacy relationship.
Yeah, because adulting is really boring. Oh my God. Adulting is super boring. Pay the bills, do the dishes, get the kids to school, worry about your career. Oh my God, it's inflation. The gas prices are so high. It's boring. Adulting. I hate it, but I have to do it, right? So
Mhm.
it's nice to take time out to play. Now, all right, some of the viewers might be wondering, but what about the pain? What about the power and control? Well, let's remove the word pain and instead consider sensation. And instead of control, which is a perfectly fine word, but what if it's lead and follow? So, well, let's see. The game of Simon Says. Simon says, raise your hand. Simon says, lower your hand. Simon says, raise your hand, lower your hand. Gotcha. That is a form of taking lead and follow. But can you imagine that Simon Says format combined with intimate sexuality? Hmm. Oh, about sensation and pain. A lot of people associate BDSM or kink with pain. Not necessarily so. Think of it as intense sensations. Now, I love spicy food because, oh my God, hot pots, love hot pots. Oh
Yeah.
my God. Yeah,
Mhm.
so good. But when you think about it, hot pots and spicy food is intense sensation. Sometimes it's so hot it makes my ears itch. And what happens with spicy food, it releases all sorts of brain and neurochemicals. Likewise, that humans like systemic stimulation. So if I like going hiking and backpacking. Well, sometimes it's intense. It's intense, and I'm like, "Ugh, ugh, ugh," and afterwards, the sense of accomplishment, right? So, pain, not pain. Think of it as consented upon seeking of intense sensation. Some people like more sensation than others. I know that a lot of my friends won't eat hot pot at my level. I
Mm.
have friends who will eat a lot hotter than I, and it depends on the mood.
Yeah. So it looks like any BDSM is like any type of sex. It also depends on our mood and the environment, how to set it up and get into it.
Mhm, absolutely. And like any form of sex and sexuality, mutual consent and planning what we're gonna do together, what we're gonna do and why we're gonna do and how we want to feel and what we're gonna do together is really important, and that's the same for any kind of sexuality, is deciding together what we're gonna do, and that both people have agency and ability to say yes or no, and that part about planning together, in the kink world and BDSM world, it's called negotiation. And I know that's a really dry word, but it's essentially about let's plan our game together. And even if there's like a power distribution, like, okay, you're going to be the dominant, I'm going to submit. And so we're going to have a power disparate play when we're engaging. That doesn't mean that one person does all the planning, because before we start playing, we are equal. And once we start playing, we agree to who's leading, who's following, and both have to agree. And if all parties are not in agreement, then there is, well, consent issue and essentially power exploitation, and that is not cool.
Mm. Yeah, that's a very, I think, very important question. But I'm always curious, how to decide who is the one in power, who is the one dominant, who is the one some being submissive. But also, I think the power does not mean you are the dominant one, then you are the power, you are the one with power, right?
How let's say for two people, of course, many people play with more than two. Um, it's up to the two people. Think about playing tag, right? Who's gonna be it? Who's gonna be the one chasing and who's gonna be the one running away? If playing a game of house as kids, or school, who's gonna be the teacher and who's gonna be the student? It depends on what the two decide, and even during the scene means playtime, uh, even during that, the level of authority that the person in lead engages in is agreed upon. And all parties have the ability to adjust the experience. One of many tools for doing that is a safe word. It's not the only way to adjust how the experience is going, but that's one that a lot of people hear first, safe word. It's a word or signal to mean that, hey, I need to take a break, or hey, I don't think I like that as much, or hey, I think we need to stop this experience. It's Yeah, it's a way by which to be able to suspend disbelief, but knowing that there's always going to be a direct and honest communication as to what's happening and how.
Mm. So anyone has any questions? And I think Miss just for those who just come in listening to us, Miss Midori is a pioneering an educator and pioneering sexologist, educator and mentor specializing in BDSM. So today she is helping us to understand what BDSM sexual play is, and answer any questions. So Miss Midori also has her own website. If anyone wants to learn more about her work, can check out her website and all her work at planetmidori.com. She also has a Patreon, right? And it's a patreon.com/planetmidori. And our team member will put all those links to different chats across our this lecture. So we just Miss Midori just help us understand what is BDSM play and the power play in that, and what's the role of gender role, stereotypes of gender role playing in that. Yeah.
Oh, stereotype of gender roles. Okay. So
We
the
touched that a
fun
little bit. Yeah.
what?
I think we only touched on that a very little bit, not really dive into
Yeah,
it
I don't
yet.
think actually we've touched on that at all. So in terms of stereotype of gender roles, right? In well-negotiated, mutually consented upon BDSM experience, you can play with it. So you can play all sorts of different genders, experiment with it. Yeah, it's a fun world of adult make-believe. Now
Anyone?
oh, now on the gender stereotype, though, I do wanna point out that sometimes it can be difficult for us to let go of stereotype or socially conditioned gendered performance. Like, I'm a cis woman and I'm a femme, therefore I should be nice, or therefore I should be gentle, or I've heard stereotypes where men are in leads and men are dominant and they should be dominant in the bedroom, and women should be submissive, all of which is bullshit. And yeah, this whole construct, all which is actually a limiting belief. And in entering into BDSM, it may be hard, but you need to try to put that aside. Now, here's the cool thing, because BDSM is a consented upon, contained experience with somebody who likes you, we can experiment with a lot of things that society, or we might not be ready to in society, or we haven't had the opportunity to. So it becomes a fantastic sandbox to explore our authentic selves without social consequences, because we're playing with negotiation and consent with somebody we like.
Mm-hmm. So before we delve into, I think consent is a very important concept in this whole BDSM play.
Mhm,
But I think it's important, but also very complicated. We have quite some
mhm.
questions um, to ask. Actually, some audience from one channel just ask, right? What are the beginners BDSM activities? I think a lot of our listeners, they are from different countries, possibly, and many people possibly curious about this kind of play. They want maybe just try it a little bit with their partners to see whether they like it or not. Do you have any suggestions how people can get into this a little bit?
Sure. So the first thing with beginning with kink, it's not the activity yet. It's about approaching your partner and saying, "Hey, I wouldn't mind trying this thing. Would you be interested in experimenting with this with me?" The first thing that's most important is to create a conversation where there's no pressure, and that curiosity and collaboration is is encouraged and created. So, it's not the, "You will do this with me," or "Why won't you do this with me?" or "Why do I have to do this with you?" or "I don't want to, but I will." It's the, "I'm curious. I want to see if you're curious about it, and try a few things." So that's absolutely the first step, right? Now, let's say that both of you and yours are like, "I'm a little curious about BDSM." All right. So here's one idea. Now, it's just an idea. So both of you have to be agreeing to trying it. Okay. And both of you have to agree that it might not work. And don't be disappointed if it doesn't work or it's like, meh. Don't be disappointed. It's all an experiment. Think of it as personal sexual science experiment. Woo. So a simple one is a sleep mask. You know, those sleep masks that you might get on the airplane. Use that as a blindfold, right? So it's gentle. People know what it is, but it takes the sense away of sight. And if you put a sleep mask or a blindfold, or it could be a scarf, around the eyes, and then proceed with whatever your regular hot sexuality is. Now, your regular sex is kinky. Why? Because you've taken the sight away and you're engaging in mutual trust and negotiation. So, simple thing is a sleep mask or a blindfold. That's a good one to start with. So that's on what would be called sensory deprivation. In other words, limiting your senses. Another very simple one might be, shoot, I didn't bring one. Oh, conveniently, in the background of our image is a rope. See the
Right.
rope? You see the rope? Is it on this side? I can't tell. It's on, okay.
There. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, you see the rope? Right. So if you want to start playing with bondage, don't start tying each other up yet. What do I have here? Oh, something simple. I have a little handkerchief. Okay, so let's say this could be a scarf. It could be the shirt I was wearing. And if we decide that you're topping or dominating or you're in charge tonight and I'm following, bottoming, or submitting, and we want to play with limiting or controlling movement, because essentially bondage is about limiting and controlling movement. So see this little shirt I was wearing or a hanky? And if you told me to hold on to this above the head in the bed while we make love as we usually do, but don't let go of this. And the moment I let go, of this, the playtime's going to stop. So by holding on to this is the simplest form of one of the simplest forms of bondage. And it requires no knots, no special implement. It does require an agreement and motivation. And what's exciting too with this is I might, I've got this hanky in my hand and I want to touch you. I want to wrap my arms around you, but I can't let go of this. And if I let go of it, the fun's going to stop. So see how it's a game? Now those would be two of the easiest ways. Oh, let's put in sensation play too. A super easy sensation play, and all of this is very, very safe. Now, about the blindfold or a sleep mask, some people are absolute no on blindfold. Don't blindfold them, okay? So, and at any point, the person receiving it can say, I don't like it. All right, so another easy one, that's sensation play. Again, take your regular good sex and ice cube. Could even put ice cube in mouth and trace it over a person. Now it's sensation play. Maybe not painful, but woo, certainly gets your attention.
Wow, sounds like there's no excuse for us to not try it out. We can just take advantage of every little thing in our life, right?
Yeah.
So really should step out of our comfort zone and just give it a try.
And keeping in mind, it might not work. One of us might like it, one of us might not like it as much, or we might both love it. We don't know. And the things that experiment, and it's apply the scientific method. Try different things, and that which doesn't work, leave it behind. That which works, keep it, innovate it. That which didn't quite work, if you think you can change up the variables and it might work, great. So it's science of pleasure.
Yeah, takes practice.
Yep. And most important, communication. Actually,
Right.
got to say that I like it, I don't like it, harder, deeper.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
I like that. Harder, deeper, right? It can be very simple, quick, but give enough information to your partner. Because we do have some questions from audience asking how to get their partner willing to try, right? When you talk about this consent, agreement, and negotiation, I think that's something very important for us to understand how
Okay.
to do
So sometimes I am asked about how do I make my partner play with me? That is the wrong approach. You can't make anyone do anything except for the IRS. They can make me pay taxes, but that's not sexy. So don't think about making somebody or persuading somebody. Because if you make somebody or persuade somebody, there's going to be a quiet resentment and it will not be good. It's also not fully consensual. Ah, I do want to say that I do have a monthly discussion around consent, and it's called Consent Dojo. It's over in my YouTube channel. Check it out. Um, so, what you can do is say that I'm kind of curious about this. You want to experiment with me? And no is totally okay. So that's or variations therein where you're accepting and encouraging that yes or no either is just as wonderful. And you might want to also talk about I'm curious about, okay? I'm curious about bondage because it looked kind of hot and I want to explore that with you because I can't think of anyone better to explore because you're hot. That's always a good one. Make sure that you encourage the other person, that it's them that's hot for you, not the activity. A common mistake is the enthusiasm for activity gets translated as the person doesn't matter. So if I were, this is a bad lover example, right? Oh, come on, let me tie you up. I want to do bondage. Bondage is hot. Everybody's doing bondage. Come on. Okay, it's gonna, just you can just lie there. You'll figure it out if you like it.
Mm, right. Definitely no,
That
no. Don't have this kind of one. Yeah.
sucks. Yeah.
Midori, I feel you can teach us a lot of good strategies about how to communicate the boundaries and also likes, dislikes in sexual activities in a sexy way. I think that's very important. So I kind of want to ask a question relating to the previous topic, the safe words. I wonder how can we communicate safe words in a sexy way? Is that should be a conversation before the sex starts? Is that something we can communicate in the middle of sex? Like how do we do that? Like in a
Okay.
sex.
Now, first, keep in mind that this is pleasure games. It's games, and so have that mindset. And when we were kids, we were able to make agreements in advance and then change the rules of the game along the way. Same thing, but we got to have the conversation up front. Also, in opening the conversation, don't don't bring shame and guilt and all that icky negative stuff. Approach this as fun. Approach it light so we're not delving into the realm of I don't feel okay asking this because it must be terrible and dirty and something must be wrong with me. No, it's just a game, right? So keep it light. And by keeping it light, it makes it easier for the other person to hear what you're saying. In terms of setting up safe word, that think of it this way, there's a signal for, nah, don't like this, to and ease up, as well as, oh yeah, I want more of this. Because remember, that's also a positive, is also a safe word too. Because if I want more of this and you're keeping at this pace, but I want more of it, there should be a code word for that too. A common one used, you'll come up with your own. Common one used over here in the US is the traffic signal, the traffic light. So red, yellow, or amber, and green. So red would be, nope, stop, 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 stop. Now the stop could mean about, let's stop this activity, but keep going with the scene. Or stop could also mean, we need to stop and I need to tell you something. You have to agree as to what that means. And amber or yellow might be slow down, and green might be, oh, hell yeah, more of that. So remember to have the hella yes word as well, because if things go well, you'll want to use that. Now, I do want to put in a little funny incident that happened years ago when I was new to kink, right? And I was new to kink. It was all exciting. Now, my background, I'm originally from Japan. My first language is Japanese. So it's in my brainstem, right? My adult language is English, but somewhere back there, the Japanese words, right? The traffic light, the color of the traffic light in Japanese, translated from Japanese, would be red, yellow, blue. Same color, called green here, is called blue over there. And in the middle of playing, I was so overwhelmed with pleasure, and the brain chemical was giving me all sorts of good natural high, which is what happens in good BDSM, that my language started to cross signal. And when I was trying to say green, 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 oh, hella yes, green, I kept saying blue because my language brain got tangled. And my English only American lover was like, why are you saying blue? Did we agree to blue? Did I forget what that means? Oh my God. So that was a little funny. Yep. I so did not expect that my linguistic brain would get scrambled. That was a very interesting lesson.
But that's such a great tool, right? To use traffic light, to use those, such a concept everyone understands from day to day. Use it
Mhm.
on bed. How creative.
Yeah, especially in the past, I thought safe word is just for safety only. I didn't know we can use it to spice up the fun, right? Yeah.
Mhm. And that way, it makes it, sometimes people don't wanna use safe word or feel like they're a failure if they use a stop or slow down word, and it's not. It's about playing well. Now, me personally, I wanna know if I'm topping or dominating, I wanna know that my partner is very capable of explaining to me, "Stop, slow down," or "Yay, more," because otherwise I'm going to end up hesitating, trying to guess and read their mind, and we're not mind readers. I'm not. I don't know if you are, but I'm not. So in order for me to pretend like I'm a mind reader, I need your input. So the stop, slow down, and more, please, more is very helpful. And by having all three levels, or maybe even more, all three levels, it makes it equally good. People don't have to feel bad about, "Oh, I shouldn't safe word, and I'm not tough enough, or I'm not good enough at bottoming if I safe word." Oh, no, 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 no. Really skilled people at bottoming, people who are really skilled at bottoming, know how to use their safe word well. Like me personally, I would not play with somebody who would hesitate about using their signals.
Right. I just heard a word recently from a colleague, actually from the video we're going to publish next week in Chinese, pillow princess.
Oh,
I
pillow
think
princess. Mhm.
yeah, right. 枕头公主. So that means a bottom just laying down there, doing nothing, saying nothing, no signal to the top, and just hope the top can guess what they want.
Well,
And do
it has
nothing.
couple of different meanings. When
Oh,
there's a compliment pillow princess and a negative pillow princess. So a pillow princess could be a passive, non-responsive, terrible lover, whereas a pillow princess positive can be, "I wanna get done, baby. I'm gonna lay back here and you do me how I want to get done."
oh,
So that's also a pillow princess. So it depends. Another term that I use, not everyone uses, but this is one, starfish. Starfish is not positive because pillow princess, at least she's a princess. And by the way, people of any gender can be a pillow princess. Okay. So you can be any gender. You cis boys out there, you can be a pillow princess too. But a starfish, starfish just lays there. That's a starfish. But there's
Oh,
queen of the starfish. And
oh,
queen of the starfish, this is my own terminology, is the person who is getting shagged and she's in charge or he's in charge. The person, they are in charge while getting done. So let's say if I'm being queen of the starfish and we agree that I am the queen of the starfish and I'm going to set the rules, I'm going to tell you exactly how I'm going to get done, and you will serve me, queen of the starfish.
oh, wow. Definitely can feel this kind of like a queen spirit already, right? In Chinese we call it what 大女主女王. So even though you are laying there at the bottom, but you are the one really control all the
Mhm.
flow of the sex.
And not only is it that I would be in control, the pleasure is about me and it centers on my pleasure. So sometimes people will think that dominating and submitting limits how you sex. So a mistaken stereotype is a person dominating is always the outie or the fucker. Can I say that here? Yes. And the person that's submitting always have to be the receiver or the one getting fucked. Not so. It's
Mm.
not the act, it's the intention behind the act. Which means if I'm feeling like a queen of the starfish, because queens outrank princesses, if I'm queen of the starfish, I might be getting penetrated, fucked good, done well, but I'm in charge.
Mm.
So that means I'm still engaging in dominance.
It's really about the power, not about what you're actually doing.
Yeah, yeah, it's all context. It's is it possible that the person penetrating me that will agree that they're dominant? Sure. And the next night, could it be opposite? Sure. Oh, you're also not stuck in who does what. Because who does what with BDSM is not a personality diagnosis. And I'll hear people going, well, I am a dominant. And I'm always dominant, and that is my identity. I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry for you. If that's the only identity you have, that makes you very shallow and boring. Um, but if somebody were to say, I enjoy dominance, that's a very different thing. That means I am a whole and complicated person, and I happen to like dominance, and I might like it with you, or submission, right? So you don't have to, I am a dominant is not a permanent personality trait. That's just an appetite. It's kind of like saying, I like pizza. That does not mean that I am a pizza. Big
Right,
difference.
right, right. Sounds like you really have to put this in context
Mhm.
with different person, and we may experience complete differently. So in that sense, it's more about the connection, about person to person.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Think in terms of lead and follow, the choreographer and the dancer. Okay, so dominance and submission, and it doesn't always have to be all mean. Sometimes it can be if you agree to it, and sometimes it can be really nice. It depends on the game you're agreeing to.
Does that mean also involves in the chemistry between two persons, two people?
Mhm.
And yeah, that's
It
interesting. I never
Yeah.
thought about these layers of, play.
Oh, yeah, and
Mhm.
just like regular sex, sometimes it's gentle, sometimes it's a little rough.
Mm.
Oh, the safe word thing, by the way, the stop, slow down, or yay, that also works well for not kinky sex.
Mm.
Totally works
Absolutely.
well. Yep.
Yeah, I think this is very important for everyone to understand, right? Generally, in sex, no matter it's kinky or not, communication is needed, negotiation is needed. And there's a lot of, it sounds like there are a lot of great ways in the process of it. You can give each other signals. So, I don't know whether I missed this earlier, whether you talk about before going to the sex, like do people, in order to not being boring, keep some excitement, but also to make sure we discuss things well enough. Is that like more for both kinky sex and non-kinky sex? Is that more common to have a very serious conversation about, hey, like, you know, what we want? uh, or it's more different ways would be better. And another question related to that is after sex. I have some clinical clients, right? They like to review what went well, what went awfully during the sex. Sometimes I don't think that's a good idea. So it feels like before sex, during sex, and after, there's a lot of discussion can carry on.
So, in terms of before sex or kink, the conversation should happen, but it doesn't have to be serious. It can be sexy too. Sexy without force, without pushing boundaries. This isn't about planning your architectural plan of building your house or something. It's not a law agreement. It's about, I want to have fun together. How shall we plan this? And so let it be fun. Let it be fun. You don't have to plan everything out. What is important, though, is one, consent, as well as agreement about, and safe word, agreement about what's the emotional tone of this experience. Another way to think about it is genre of movies. Do any of you all like movies? I love going to movies, right? And not just like turning on the screen, but going to the theater. So when we decide to go to a movie, we actually do that negotiation. We just don't think about it. It's, hey, honey, want to go to a movie tonight with me? Sure. Or no. Uh, okay, you want to go to a movie? Great. What do you want to see? Well, let's see. The partner says, I want to see rom-coms, this rom-com that's playing. And me, I don't like rom-coms. I'm like, no rom-com. Hard limit on the rom-com. How about science fiction? There's this like intense science fiction playing. My partner might go, that's too serious. How about a Marvel superhero? Okay. Who's buying the tickets and who's buying the popcorn? That's a negotiation. And in that process, we actually talked about what kind of mood we're in or genre. So sex and kink play can also have genre, if you will, from like rom-coms to stupid, silly teenage action movie to comic book movies to a spy thriller to horror movies. And we go select a movie because of we have a sense of what kind of mood we want to be in. Same with kink. So we're wanting it a little scary and rough tonight, or are we wanting it tender? Or do we want to be silly and laugh and can I beat you with a rubber chicken? Or can I dress up like Deadpool and shag you? Or I'll dress up like Deadpool and you can shag me. All of which is negotiation and deciding the mood. So that happens before. So let's say we've agreed upon silly and fun, right? So in the middle of a scene, middle of playtime, if the experience seems to veer away from silly to like getting serious and maybe sad or scary, whoa, 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 whoa. Yellow, yellow, yellow. Let's keep it in the fun and silly. Oh, right. Okay, sorry. Or, oh, I like this, and I think we can go a little more intense. Can we go green on the little nipple clamp things? Okay, so that might be mid-scene negotiation. Mid-scene adjustment. Let's call it adjustment because it's really an adjustment. Now, after play or sex, this is the realm of aftercare. And this does not get spoken of enough. Aftercare. Aftercare is that what each individual require to regain equilibrium. I'll say that again. What each individual requires for regaining equilibrium. This can happen after sex, really ought to, as well as kink. Now, sometimes people think that aftercare is about cuddling with a blanket and having chocolate and water. No, it's not universal. It's going to depend. So you were saying about some partners like to talk right afterwards while the other doesn't. This is about a difference in aftercare needs. So, for example, after a wonderful sex or kink, let's say afterwards, I need to be quiet. Or maybe I'm very sensitive, I'm emotionally vulnerable in a good way, because after hot sex, we are often emotionally vulnerable, as well as with kink. And maybe in that emotional vulnerable state, being reviewed and critiqued may hurt a lot. Or maybe I want to hear it, but I need to understand what I need and what you need may be different. If I need to be quiet, you need to be chatty. If I need to be cuddled, you need to not be touched. If I need to eat, you need a cigarette. These are very different. So if we have mismatched aftercare needs, and we find that out only after sex or kink, this is where feelings are hurt, or people feel abandoned or clung to or misunderstood. And a non-optimal aftercare can leave individuals feeling bummed out, blue, doubtful, irritated, anxious, uh, all sorts of negative things. So do you always have to have exactly the matching aftercare? No, that's impossible. We're all different, right? If we plan this in advance, less likely to have feelings hurt. So let's say, taking your scenario, my lover says to me that, oh, I love talking about the scene right afterwards, and I want to go over what we're going to do different, and we're going to do this like a science experiment. And then me, I'm like, oh, I can't, I can't. That's too much. First of all, my language brain isn't back, and I'm really sensitive, so I can't talk about the things that you want different or that you didn't like. Maybe the things I liked, okay, but things you want different, tell me tomorrow. But I generally need to be a bit quiet. So if we know this in advance, we're not going to have hurt feelings. Or let's say afterwards, I need food. I need a lot of carbs. Oh my God, I need to stuff my face with food afterwards. In which case, we should probably know that and make sure that we have food in the fridge, because it would be so sad after a hot scene if there were no food and then my blood sugar drops. Yeah. And then I'm cranky and I'm bitchy and I'm going to think the whole thing sucks just because we didn't have food.
Wow. Aftercare is something, I think a lot of us never really think about any type of sex, right? And but that's often what I hear when I work with couples. They complain about each other. They feel like they're what we call, I think, after play is a similar concept, and right, cuddling, talking, and normally, like if they have different needs, how to let each other know, so you don't just interpret the others, right, negatively.
And sometimes we don't find out about our aftercare or after sex needs until we come across the ones we don't like. And by understanding that everyone, whether you're topping or bottoming, regular sex or dominating or submitting, everybody deserves the aftercare that is right for them. And mismatched aftercare or non-optimal aftercare make people cranky, if we accept that, it's not anyone's fault, except it's both y'all's fault for not talking about it beforehand. And if it doesn't work, experiment. Let's try something different next time. Okay, I felt totally like judged and made me insecure. They were telling me about all the things right afterwards. Oh, okay, next time, let's try not telling me until 24 hours later. Or I felt really anxious and cornered and uncomfortable that you were touching me afterwards. I needed my space. And I know you felt rejected because I walked out of the room. It wasn't you. I was just overloaded with my senses. Maybe I'm a super sensitive individual, and afterwards it's like my skin is like on fire. Don't touch me. It's not a personal rejection, though it might feel like that. And if we have the language of aftercare, it makes it easier for me to say, my skin is overstimulated. It's like if you touch me, it's like just winds me up and it's not good. It's not you, right? So it's just my system. Whereas if I don't know about aftercare or don't think about it, I'm like, why did you touch me? I mean, my God, I can't, I felt absolutely invaded on. I can't believe you were like touching me when I needed to cool down. How could you not know? I'm sure you've heard things like that as well.
Right? Quite often.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just helped me level up my understanding about consent. I used to think, again, I used to think consent is just about, what kind of thing we're going to do. But I never thought about we can talk so many things before we actually start doing everything. And also consent is literally everywhere. Wow. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, I also like the what you shared about let's try something different next time, right? It's not always need to be a serious conversation. Hey, I really don't like this. I like what? It can be so many different ways of communicating the information.
Yes. And this may be difficult for people who put a lot of pressure on themselves to be good or perfect or right. Gotta let it go. Science experiment. And I know that we want to be good lovers and please our partners and be Wonder Woman in the bedroom, but we got to figure these out. So experimentation is, and take it in the spirit of experimentation, so nobody's feeling bad about it or pressured. You were talking about consent. I like to think of consent opportunities. Okay. And we often think of consent as specifically around sex and kink. But I'd like to give you an example, what I call my shopping bag example. Okay, so let's say that I'm going to go to my neighborhood grocery store. Love the grocery store. I go there all the time. I know the staff, and I have with me an empty shopping bag, a reusable shopping bag, right? Environmentally sensitive. So I'm going to the store and I get all my things and I go through the checking counter and it's the regular checkout person. We're talking, oh, what are you doing for vacation? Ding. Oh, how are your kids? Ding. And oh, when's school starting for the kids again? Ding, 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 ding. Okay, so you buy all these things, right? And then my regular cashier takes the items and starts putting it in a paper bag. I have a shopping bag, but I didn't say anything. She didn't ask me, and I didn't say anything, and she keeps putting the groceries in. Okay. I'm now holding a paper grocery bag and an empty tote. Okay. So I'm walking out of the grocery store. And then with an armful of groceries and an empty tote bag, as I'm walking out, a pigeon shits on me. And then I'm walking along, having wiped off the pigeon shit, grocery bag, and an empty tote, and I'm coming to a crosswalk. And there's somebody in front of the crosswalk looking at their phone, walking towards me in collision course. And what am I going to do? Now, why is this an example of consent and consent opportunities? When I was in the line getting checked out, I missed an opportunity to create consent. She didn't ask me, and I didn't adjust. She could have automatically gone to paper bags because she knows I always ask for paper bags. Now, here's somebody who knows my habit and just automatically did it. I wanted something different, but I didn't speak up. Now, grocery bag, maybe not that high stakes. It gets a lot more high stakes around sex and kink. But I surrendered an opportunity for consent making because that's mutual. If she didn't ask me, it's not her fault. I could have asked, right? If I didn't ask and she didn't read my mind, it's not her fault. It's right. So I missed a consent opportunity. All right. What about the bird shit? Did I have an opportunity to consent to bird doo doo? No. That is literally a case of shit happens. I did not have an opportunity to make consent with the damned pigeon because we don't get the consent to everything that happens. Now, we're walking across the crosswalk and there's that person looking at that phone. How am I going to choose to engage in my opportunity to, well, engage in consent, make consent? Am I going to duck out of the way and let them walk by without ever noticing? Or am I going to knock them with my shoulder and say, hey, watch where you're going, I'm walking here? Or am I going to say, hello? Oh, sorry, hi, good morning. So we have the grocery bag. So how often do we surrender an opportunity to make consent? How often do we get angry or think it's our fault on situations that we did not have consent? And how often, well, do we take a moment to think, that person that's about to run into me, we can actually make consent right now. And as you walk through your everyday life, and I don't need you to change your behavior. Pay attention to opportunities to make consent or opportunities you missed that you could have made consent. And then the bird shit, the one, even if you wanted to, you can do it.
I love all your analogies. Thank you so much, Miss Midori. And I just want to take a break here, use this chance to help our audience because we have a lot of audience across different platforms coming in and out. So I want just to introduce Miss Midori again to everyone who are listening and watching. Miss Midori, based in San Francisco. She's a pioneering sexologist, educator, and mentor, specializing in BDSM and the creative, confident self-expression. And she's here to share with us the myths of BDSM. So we have only several more minutes with her today. And please feel free to ask any questions, no matter which platform you're on. Please throw out your questions and we will choose the questions to help you ask Miss Midori. And please read more about Miss Midori's work on her website, planetmidori.com. She also have a paid Patreon membership with a lot of great information there, a lot of great meetup groups to really help you out. So the website we put on all platforms too in our chat. It's patreon.com/planetmidori.
I would also like to add that for those of you who, especially around rehearsing negotiation or practicing boundary or things like that, I also work one-on-one by Zoom with people. I do coach and consult.
Great. What kind of questions, people should consider come to you for this kind of consultation? Is that to explore their own BDSM play or anything else?
Yes, for their own BDSM play about how to negotiate well. It could be about tips on what kind of tools to buy. Also, people who are forming DS relationships and navigating power relationships. That I also work with mental health professionals to help train them to be more savvy about realities of kink practice, and so that they may serve their clients better. So I also work with mental health professionals as well.
Yeah, I
Wonderful.
heard that. Yeah, wonderful. I heard that your office hour is more like group therapy for some people, right?
It's good
Yeah,
discussion. Yeah.
yeah, that sounds very rewarding. Yeah.
Yeah, great. I feel like as mental health providers ourselves, right, we all need to learn more about all this kind of knowledge to help us serve our clients better. Because everyone, I think sex is in everyone's life. No matter what type of sex you are engaging in, you are interested in, a lot of concepts you share today, I think makes sense to almost all the couples out there, right?
Yeah.
All kind of sex relationships is all involve some kind of consent, agreement, negotiation, discussion, cues to guide the other person to be assertive about what I don't like, what I want to try next, to care for each other, what you like, what you want to try next time. So I think you touch on a lot of wonderful concepts, not just about BDSM, but about sex in general.
I want to add another thing about kink and BDSM. It does not have to include genital contact or genital sex. And that's part that I know a lot of people like, because it broadens the range of people that they might interact with and understanding one's boundaries. So BDSM can be very sexual, or it can be of different kinds of eroticism and connection. It does not necessarily have to involve the genitals or what's commonly considered as sex. Lots of options.
Mm, yeah,
Yeah,
I think
that is.
that's such a great concept too. So, okay.
Yeah, that is so well said. I mean, after the workshop, it really broadened my understanding of what BDSM is. It's like you said, it's not about sex only. It's more about connection and communication and deep connection. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Definitely
and
the
maybe, oh, Jian, go ahead.
yeah. So I want to thank Midori for the workshop today. It's like so eye-opening for me, and also I know today we talked a lot about the communication within the couples, and I wonder if there are anything that single people could do in terms of exploring
Oh,
them on their own.
yes. Lots that can be done for people without partners, because
Oh,
so much of it is here. If you can find, I am a big fan of kinky, sexy erotica. Now, I happen to like graphic novels and the written word, but some people might like uh, kinky porn. Other people might like mainstream movies that are kind of saucy. So, getting the imagination fired up with that, or bringing in, if you already have pleasure practice of masturbation, you can include you can blindfold yourself and see what you feel.
mm,
You can engage with a little bit of self bondage and see what it's like to feel that pressure. You always be able to get out yourself, okay? All right. Um, you can engage in new sensations. Like, remember that ice cube thing? You can do that yourself. And it could be
mm.
like, woo! So you can totally experiment like that. And yeah, there's a lot that can be done.
Great. So sounds like BDSM is not just among couples. It's not like, oh, I have to have a partner so we can explore together, we can be curious together. Yourself. You can start from exploring yourself first.
And make it lifestyle.
If somebody want to.
Sometimes it's Sometimes it's just a little variety. I mean, sometimes people think that if you start adventuring with kink, then it's always going to be kinky and no interest in regular or vanilla sex, which is not true. It's just about variety. So, and sometimes we might go through phases of lots of this or a little of this. Again, it's like food. I mean, sometimes I go through phases of like, oh my God, I want burgers all the time. And then I'm like, oh God, no, let me just eat vegetables for the next 6 weeks. Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah.
There always a step. Go ahead, Isha.
No, I possibly we're gonna say the similar thing. I always find the analogy between food and sex. It totally makes sense, right? You go to a restaurant, what do you eat at home, what do you like, and how to talk about food with yourself, with your partner, how to make decisions. So much similarities between that and sex. And the kinky sex too.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Okay,
this has
so
been exciting. And for those of you who are viewing, hey, if you have more questions, come on over to my office hours at Patreon. Or if you want, maybe they'll have me on the show again.
we would love to have Miss Midori back. And so please feel free to leave us comment, let us know if you have any questions, if you are watching. And remember, you can check out more of Miss Midori's work, including several books she has written, which is wonderful books, on her website at planetmidori.com. Great. Okay, so thank you so much, Miss Midori, for joining us and sharing all this wonderful wisdom with us. I think that's an eye-opening experience for us all today. To really, I like your style to help us understand BDSM play and sex in general in such an easy way. And so many real-life analogies, right? We can understand, oh, right, if we think about grocery, if we think about food, if we think about all that, and traffic lights. It totally makes sense. So easy to understand.
Now, I know this is a new platform. Do I stay on or do I click leave?
You can stay on. I will end the stream. So thank you
Okay.
everyone for joining us today, and hopefully we will see you next time. Bye. Okay, I will end all the stream. Okay, and I have one more to end. That's Instagram. Okay. Oh, great.